Right now on Capitol Hill, time is running out for that super committee to reach a deal on more than $1 trillion in cuts before Thanksgiving. If they can't, they'll risk automatic steep cuts to defense and domestic programs. With what's at stake, a lot of people surely thought doing a deal would be a no-brainer, and that's why the trigger to enact the cuts was built into the budget law. But some committee members are pessimistic now that a deal can be reached. So what would failure do to the already shaky credibility of Congress and the faith Americans have in our government? David Drucker is a staff writer for Roll Call. All right, so David, what about it? There is a lot of skepticism that this super committee is going to be able to get the deal done. What happens if they don't?
Well, then we go to a trigger, or sequestration, which is the fancy Washington word for that. Interestingly enough, though, John, these cuts would not go into effect until 2013, and so I think you have members on both sides of the aisle saying that they'll fight it out, or thinking that they'll fight it out in the 2012 elections, and whoever comes out on top can undo whatever they don't like in 2013 before these things were to go into effect. And I think that both sides of the aisle agree on one thing, if nothing else, that a bad political deal would be worse than any deal. That suffering at the ballot box, having your own base of supporters go against you because of a deal you cut, is a worse option than reaching just any agreement.
Obviously, all of the House members on this committee have to face the voters next November, but the senators are largely protected or not running again, right?
That's true, but you have to look at it this way. The Democrats have a 4-seat hold on the Senate, and Republicans feel like with the electoral map as it is this election cycle, that they have a really good chance of taking back the Senate in 2012. And if Republicans can hold the House, then you have an all-Republican Congress, regardless of what happens at the presidential level, and that is weighing on the minds of Republicans in the Senate.
So these cuts that we're talking about, these automatic cuts to domestic programs and the Pentagon, if they take place or if the committee can't reach a deal, we've got more than a year before those cuts actually begin to take effect. So presumably Congress could, over the course of 2012, come up with some other plan, right?
Well, it could. What I would expect that would happen is that nothing would actually be undone until 2013. And, of course, it would depend on who the president is after Inauguration Day in 2013 and who's running the Congress. Do Republicans have full control of the House and Senate? Does a Republican beat Obama, or does Obama win re-election? And that would determine what happens with this deal moving forward. I don't think you'll get much done next year, so if this goes to sequestration, I think that's going to be what this is all about and become a part of the campaign, and you'll see it probably crop up on the campaign trail with Republicans promising steep cuts and an undo of the defense cuts if they win the presidency and control of the Senate, and Democrats promising to protect social programs and ensure that defense bears its fair share of the burden if they remain in control of the Senate and hold the White House.
Seems like somebody ought to get something done in Washington, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of movement in that way. David Drucker from Roll Call, thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
So new development.